Hey guys, welcome back to the Empty Cup Podcast, episode 8. Today we're talking about the college experience, the positives, the negatives, the things we've all done throughout college, and whether we think college is still worth it or not. We have Nathaniel here who is kind of representing like leaving college a little bit, and you've experienced a life without college a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of putting it?
I guess I got about halfway through my college career before taking a break and working on something else.
You would call it a break? Is that yeah, it's good.
It might be permanent. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, you're figuring it out. And Mark, who's close to graduating, got one more semester left for off to the real world.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm, of course, your host, Govind Poipakam. And so let's just get into it. You guys are both industrial engineering majors. That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just figured that out?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know he was in industrial engineering?
I did not.
Okay,
Usually I can sense it.
Yeah.
Sense it.
No.
Yeah.
I'm barely an industrial engineering major, let's be honest.
Well, I'm curious though, because you said you work at
Accenture
right now?
Yes.
What kind of work are you doing as an industrial engineer?
Yeah, so honestly, the thing about industrial engineering is that there are very few jobs, at least that I've come across. I mean, granted, I'm still in college, so I've not seen every job in the world, but it seems like there are very few things that are specifically industrial engineering. The industrial engineering curriculum at Georgia Tech, which is apparently the best in the country, seems to me to be a lot of critical thinking. Like if you ask me what I've learned as an industrial engineer at Tech, there are not a billion formulas I can remember off the top of my head. If you gave me a graph or something to forecast, I could probably do it, but I wouldn't say these are essential skills for any of the jobs I've had yet. It's really just a lot of critical thinking and figuring out what to do with numbers, how to analyze them, what conclusions to draw from them. So what I've been doing at Accenture is probably one of the least industrial engineering jobs I could have gotten this summer, because I had a little bit of a rough application process. So I was looking to get into the consulting side of Accenture, which is Accenture is a consulting company, but I've been in corporate functions, which is more intercompany work, and I've enjoyed it. It's a great place to work, but it's not super industrial engineer-esque, I guess.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Yeah, so we've been at Georgia Tech. It's a very rigorous school, I'd say. The admission process gets tougher and tougher every year, especially if you're out of state. It's extremely hard to get in. Whenever I meet out-of-state people, I know they're like insanely smart. And then even as an in-state person, I feel like I barely got into this school. It was like my top school. I got in. I was like, oh, and with the scholarship that we have in our state, it's basically almost fully covered to come here. You don't really pay much out of pocket other than like housing.
Yeah.
Housing is definitely the most expensive thing, the biggest headache of living in Atlanta, I think. But yeah, that's a little bit of background. I'm a mechanical engineering major. Both of you guys are industrial engineering majors. So what would you guys say is like your favorite parts, or were your favorite parts of the college experience at Tech?
You want to take it first?
Well, honestly, I think I'm figuring out right now.
What did you enjoy the most when you were?
My favorite part?
Yeah.
What I enjoyed the most? It's probably the food. I mean,
really?
I'm sure a lot of people. That's just the thing that came to my head first. I'm not horribly picky, so having someone else, because back, especially during freshman year, we had 4 meal swipes a day. I was the person that used all 4 every day to get like full meals each time.
Yeah.
And
bro, the Starbucks meal swipes. Bro.
Oh yeah, I was there. But man, especially now, like living in my own place, grocery shopping and cooking my own food, having somebody else cook hot meals for you 4 times a day, I really miss that. I don't know if y'all remember those umami bowls on West Village. I dream of those. I used to get like, the salmon one with a bunch of teriyaki sauce over rice. Yeah, so at least back from my freshman year, that was like probably my favorite part. Now, even though technically I'm on a leave of absence I'm kind of getting involved with some clubs and organizations on campus, I guess on the technicality that I'm still technically a student. And that's, I think, to me, for a college or a university like Georgia Tech, is one of the most valuable aspects of it, second to the education, which we'll get into later, is the type of organizations and in clubs that you can even start or become part of, because the student body is so large, and the fact that we have a very like clear-cut campus makes provides like a lot of meeting areas, central meeting areas for people to come together and do things. And so like I've been looking into the GT Sustainability Club because they have a community garden on campus, and I just wanted to take a shot at community gardening. That's something you can do. I've gotten into dancing a lot recently, so checking out the salsa club, the swing dancing club. At one point back when I was enrolled as a student, I was a part of a philosophy club, like philosophy/psychology club called Great Conversations. And yeah, just to have, I guess, other Georgia Tech students in such a close proximity, just doing what they love on their own time has been really enjoyable.
Interesting. Yeah. What about you, Mark?
I mean, I would say the exact same thing, honestly, not to piggyback, but, it depends on the kind of education you get, I guess. Obviously, Georgia Tech is a fantastic school, but for me, it definitely has more merit in the social life, which is not something you hear often about Georgia Tech.
No.
I know that is.
I think it's a shame, because I think that's a big misconception that probably, I've thought about this a lot, if you can't tell, probably stems from the fact that we are so close to UGA, which is well known as being one of the most social colleges in the U.S. It's got its own college town, a phenomenal football program, as unfortunate as that is. Very active Greek life. It's the perfect recipe for just a lot of social activity going on and not a lot of school.
Throwing some shade today.
But I'm not a fan. But Tech has a great social atmosphere as well. It just gets understated because UGA's is assumed to be better. But I think Tech's Greek life is better for the most part, at least from what I've seen. Obviously, I'm not in Greek life at UGA, so I can't say that for sure. Yeah. But I enjoy the Greek life I'm in. That Govind and I are in the same fraternity. Theta Chi. You should rush Theta Chi. But
this should be our rush video.
yeah. But outside of Greek life, I mean, the clubs are great. I have been in club tennis since the second week of my freshman year. I was the men's captain my sophomore year, which means I led the competitive teams, and I was the president my junior and senior years. So did all the logistical things, and I've really enjoyed that. It's great being part of a club on campus, especially one that's big and tight-knit. And I think, if you have the opportunity to be in a sports club wherever you go to college, you should take it, because it's really, really fun. Great way to stay active, have a good time playing a sport without the commitment or having to be as good for varsity. It's a great time. But yeah, I mean, and there are other organizations I have been in for a little bit, but those two are my main ones, and I think they're just so worthwhile. Like, I'm glad I came to college just for those two things, honestly. They've been fantastic.
That's awesome. So just to play devil's advocate, there's two things I wanted to say in response to what you were saying. The first thing is, I think it's social if you get involved. I think it's really easy to find yourself secluded or even in a bubble, especially if you're not living on campus or you're in some off-campus housing or whatever. It's really easy to not meet people because you have to get involved with tennis or fraternity or swim. I know swim club is a really big kind of a social club almost at Tech, which is actually really cool. And you have to actively be joining a lot of these clubs, especially if you want to find people that are like-minded. Because one thing I'll say about Tech is because there's so many smart people, I think they tend to be a little bit more quirky, Nothing wrong with that. It's just for me personally, I find a lot of people I'm oh, that's great, but I don't think I'd be friends with that person, or I have a lot in common with that person. But in Greek life, I definitely found more people that I was more in common with. And even without Greek life, like me and you, like I found, I found people that were similar to me too. I think it's just slightly harder if you're not involved. And then I guess my second point is Georgia Tech is like a very rigorous school, and I think my problem has always been that I would undercommit. Like I wouldn't join enough clubs and things because I was like, oh, I got to focus on school. Like it's on my top of my head, and I forget what concept it was, but essentially because I was just blocking my time with like studying and not adding other things on top of it.
I think it's Parkinson's law.
Parkinson's law. Yeah, I literally made a video on this. I already forgot what it was. But yeah, Parkinson's law. I would honestly get stuck up with the stress of like all the classes because some of the classes are hard. And I'd end up spending way too much time studying, and I wouldn't like allot time for doing like social events or club things or whatever, like joining other clubs and whatnot.
Could you explain what Parkinson's law is?
Yeah, in case you haven't watched my video, you should go watch it now before continuing to watch this. But basically, it states that the amount of time it takes to do something is typically based on how long you have set to do that set task. So essentially, if you set 2 hours to do a project, you'll get it done in 2 hours. But if you set 10 hours to do the project, your mind will think, oh, I have 10 hours to do it, and you might just slack off for a couple of hours or just think, oh, I have plenty of time. And you'll get it done in 10 hours, but it's not the most efficient. But obviously there's a limit to that. Like you need a certain amount of time to do something well. So it's kind of like a graph like this where it's like time over effort. And you want to basically maximize your effort so you can minimize the amount of time you spend doing something. That's basically Parkinson's law. I think I explained it somewhat well. So yeah, those are my 2 points. I think it's the culture at Tech, you really have to involve yourself, I think, because everyone thinks they're struggling, but you shouldn't have this. I think it's easy to think that you're the only one that's struggling. Like you could be like, because it's such an academically rigorous school, it's easy to have that mindset that, oh, everyone here is smart. They're probably, having an easier time than I am. But no, I think a lot of people struggle with a lot of the classes, especially freshman, sophomore year. I think some of those weed out classes, really get people. Do you guys have any specific classes that were like you big pain in the ass for you?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we talked about physics 2, I think, at one point, or physics 1 being a pain. Because I think we took it at the same time. You might have taken a different type, like modern or classical. I think you took the other one.
I guess maybe we took it at the same time.
I remember talking to it briefly.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with physics. Yeah. So I took physics 1 the second semester of my freshman year. Yeah. And I fell very behind very quickly because I didn't take it seriously. I was doing fraternity stuff. I mean, I was a freshman who, at the time that was all I cared about was just like, oh, having a good time, fraternity, school, whatever. And I fell behind extremely quickly. And the way that class worked was the tests were scaled. So whichever test you did the best on counted for significantly more of your final grade than whichever test you did the worst on. So I had gotten C's on the first 2 tests. There were 4 total. But I'd done the math, and I determined that if I got an A on the 3rd and 4th test, I could still get an A in the class because of the grading scale. Yeah. Also, calculating what I need to get an A is my greatest skill. If that was a class, I would have. I'd have 4. But so the 3rd test comes, and I went in and I didn't study as much as I should have, and I knew I needed to, but I was a freshman and I was like, whatever, it'll be fine. And I walk out of the test and I realized I had gotten like actually nothing right. I didn't know how to do a single thing on the test. Oh no. And so the deadline to drop the class was in 2 days. So I go and meet with the professor and I ask him, can I please see my grades so I know like what I got? Because I think I got a 0. Can I see it? And he says, sorry, we haven't graded them yet. We won't grade them in time, so you need to decide if you're going to drop or not. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet. I dropped it. And I got the grade back and I got a 30, which, I still probably would have failed the class. So it was a smart decision. Yeah. I took it again the next semester, fall. A lot of people at Georgia Tech, fun fact, they will go take physics at another school because
especially physics too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Georgia Tech is well known for having ridiculously difficult physics classes. I mean, more so than they need to be, I think, just for the sake of it. And it's honestly ridiculous, and I'm not just saying that because I had to drop it. But I took it the next semester. I took it very seriously, studied hard, aced it. It was great. And so I loved physics after that. And then Physics 2 came along. And
Oh, that was Physics 1. Okay.
yeah, then Physics 2 came along, and, you know, I could go into the whole story. It might take a little too much time, but that was, and I don't want to name drop just in case, but that was the meanest, most,
Do you have
seems
Greco?
to be the most, no,
Okay.
not Greco.
Yeah, I love
Most
Greco.
uncaring professor I've ever had. Not a fan of this guy. Almost reported him to the dean and didn't do it because I didn't want him to drop my grade. Chickened out a little bit, but he was a jerk. So don't like Physics 2 very much.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely. Well, I had a different experience with physics. I actually like physics a lot, but I'm an ME.
Physics 1 helped.
Yeah, no, I did pretty well in both of them. I'm an ME major, so it's probably a good thing because most of the classes are physics based. So yeah, that for me, like, school has definitely been kind of the big stress point of college, and I think the first couple of semesters for me, it always like had an effect on my like social life and the other parts of my life because I was just like constantly focused on that. And then I guess I started to hear this mindset a lot more that like, oh, your grades, you should try hard in school, but your grades don't matter too much. Like, as long as you're doing things in college, like getting an internship experience, which is something we can talk about. Like the whole hustle culture of tech. It's like every semester you're doing something. There's no like really off semester. You're either doing an internship, you're taking classes, you're doing research, or something, right? And let's just talk. Let's just talk about that. I've just dived into it anyway, because what are your thoughts on that, Nathaniel?
Well, I noticed that it seemed like you got like a slight grace period your freshman year, where like you could do nothing your first semester, maybe your second semester, but if you like don't get on top of it by your sophomore year, like you are very quickly gonna fall behind your peers, because just everybody from the get-go. I mean, a lot of people are very determined, motivated, and ambitious coming to that school, which is not a problem. Like, and they know where they want to go and what they want to do, so they're already planning like internships and studying abroad and research and different projects. I know a few people who have started their own clubs, etc. And I found myself in a place where all of a sudden I was behind, because like I would going through like a lot of personal problems my freshman year, and then I found myself in my sophomore year and I didn't really know what I wanted to do and what I liked. And all of a sudden, like, my peers were getting like these internships at Amazon and Tesla and Google and all these big companies and stuff, and I don't understand how like they got there so quickly, because in my mind, like, I was so far away from that, and I was like, what did I miss? Like, what was I not doing throughout that whole freshman and sophomore year? And I guess a big thing that's happened recently is that I've been hanging around with like high school friends and people in the Atlanta area who go to other colleges besides tech, and the attitude is completely different. Like, people just get odd end jobs during the summer to like pay for their social life, pretty much. Going to internships, like, I thought that was a thing that everybody did in college. So of course you get an internship as soon as possible, and that's very specific to your major to like get experience for your resume. I have a lot of friends who are just like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting an internship, or maybe I'll get one, but it doesn't really seem to be like that important or a priority to them. And that kind of shocked me. I was like, oh, I didn't realize the culture on these other campuses was like that. It's just so chill, and they're just kind of living their life a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's twofold, because for us, there's a statistic that 44% of Georgia Tech graduates are millionaires, which is insane. It's like something awesome to look forward to. Although my dad did bring up a point. He was like, how many of them had like millionaire parents and like came in already rich? And I was like, that's probably fair. But still, I think there's validity to the whole ambition that all these Georgia Tech students have to have, or desire to have. And then you see people around you that are ambitious, and it makes you want to be more ambitious, which I think is a good culture to have. Obviously, you might not have the best social life. Like, a lot of people might put that on the back burner for those 4 years so that they can get their dream job or whatever they want to do. So really, it's really just up to each individual. But I personally think that for me, that like I wouldn't go to UGA. Basically, is what I'm saying. Like I prefer this culture much more. I'm sure you do too, Mark. I don't want to speak for you, but
I mean, I'll be honest. If I hadn't gone to Georgia Tech, and I don't know why I'm saying this on camera.
Do you want to say it?
I mean, I probably would have enjoyed UGA. It sounds like a fun place to go. I honestly, the reason I didn't go to UGA was because I'm from Macon, Georgia, and the entire city is just UGA everything. That's
It's
all.
not Macon or Mercer.
No, not Mercer. You know, you would think. But
Mercer's in Macon.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
my brother plays tennis at Mercer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you would think everyone in Macon went to Georgia, and they didn't. They're all just, you know, go Dogs.
Yeah.
Just because it's, you know, they're good at football, and that's the big thing. And there's
The Dogs are the mascot of UGA, in case you didn't know that.
And everyone barks at the football game.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. But, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of a school because it's good at football. It just got very old, and I said to myself, I don't want to be part of this barking culture.
Yeah.
But do I prefer the competitive aspect of tech? Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, like I said, I enjoy the social aspect of it a lot, but there is a lot of hyper competitiveness at Georgia Tech, and it's something I try and stay out of. But it's tough to, you know, like you were saying, Nathaniel, with the Tesla and Amazon internships. It always seems like someone at this school is doing better than you are every time you do something. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about. My sophomore year, I mean, I'm just hearing people, oh, I'm going to work at Amazon, I'm going to work at Google, Microsoft, and it's like, I'm staying home for the summer. I was going to go work at a restaurant, you know, and it feels weird, like you're doing something wrong. And so I'm not a big fan of that, and I did. It helped a lot. I rationalized it the summer after my sophomore year because that was 2020, and that was when nobody was really doing anything. Everyone was all cooped up, and so I sort of rationalized it. Like, look, this internship culture at Georgia Tech is abnormal, so it's not the end of the world that I'm not following strictly by it, and that helped me a lot. And so yeah, that's how I rationalized.
I mean, I feel like you still live by, like, you've done at least 2 or 3 internships, I think, or 2 internships?
I've done 3.
3, okay, yeah.
So what I'm saying is I do live by it. Yes, I have gotten internships because it's the culture. Even if you don't agree with it, you get sucked into it. But, you know, the time I did
let me ask you this. Would you replace those years for, like, fonder experiences and lose, like, the internship experience? If you, like, oh, I just had a blast out somewhere instead of doing that internship, would you replace it or no?
It depends on the year. My first internship, I think I would replace it.
Yeah, some of them aren't that good.
I didn't make that much money, which is not the point of an internship, but, you know, big part of it. I was doing something that was not something that will ever be applicable to me again. It involved a lot of manholes and looking inside the sewer. And
are you talking about Are you talking about ZF?
No.
This is before ZF.
This was my freshman year. And you know, I got that internship because of a family friend. I mean, I didn't do any applications or anything. Like, I was super behind, and I only got it because of that culture at Tech. Everyone had internships, and I thought, I'm doing something wrong. I need to fix this. It became a little while before I could rationalize it sophomore year when I didn't have one. I would probably replace that one. My second internship at ZF. So, for the record, Govind and I, we worked together for an entire summer, the summer of 2021. Govind actually got me the job.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. I got the job first, and then they asked me if I wanted to refer anyone, and I was like, "All right, who wants this?" I basically put in our, like, fraternity chat. I was like, "Who wants to work here?"
Yeah.
And a couple guys responded, and then all of us just ended up working there. It was a lot of fun. We all just lived in I lived in the middle of nowhere with Steg for a couple months, and then he moved to live with you guys in the city, and you guys would, like, commute 30 minutes from the city to, like, middle of nowhere.
Worth it.
We worked in a manufacturing plant, which is very interesting. I don't know, that was an experience to say the least.
Yeah.
There were ups, a lot of downs.
You know,
like a 2 hour and 30-minute drive to get there from Atlanta. Because it's, like, middle of nowhere in South Carolina, near Greenville. It's called, what is it called? Great Court. Yeah.
How did you forget?
How could I forget? That was only last year.
Yeah.
Last year now. A couple months ago? Oh no, it's less than. It's just a year.
We were still there.
Yeah.
A year Oh no, we were probably
We might
about
have.
2 weeks
I think we
ago.
ended at end of
Because
July.
I stopped first day of August. No,
Yeah,
I went
I
first
feel
day
like
of
we
August
all
because they asked
stopped.
us to stay. Yeah.
Oh.
I wanted to get out of there. They wouldn't let me.
I mean, I think you guys also had a slightly worse experience than I did. But even towards the end, it was just kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to be done with this. Like, because that was the kind of internship where we were doing the same project from like start to finish. So by the end of it, we were just like, this is like, we're not getting anywhere. We were ready to go home. And at least for me, that was like you were saying about your first internship. This wasn't very applicable to what I wanted to do. So it was like, but it was fun to like hang out with you guys and get paid too. That's always nice.
Yeah.
And get some real world experience, because I'm sure that helped a little bit in getting the next internship. And then, maybe when I'm applying for my next internship, all this experience will help. And obviously when I get a full-time job, I'll have all the stuff that like at least something might be relevant to what I want to do. But yeah.
Go ahead.
So you said the first internship you didn't really like it. The second internship, I don't think you liked it out.
Well, I'll clarify about the ZF internship.
Yeah.
Because as I said earlier, I am a social person. Sometimes, and like anyone, I enjoy staying in and not socializing sometimes. But I do enjoy making new friends and hanging out with people, becoming close with them. And I honestly would not trade that ZF internship. Not to hype you up too much, but that wasn't my favorite thing in the world. The work. No, I didn't hate it. It just, like you said, we were working on one project at a time, a lot of downtime, not a whole lot to do. But that summer, living with you, two of our fraternity brothers, and two other friends we made, that was fantastic. We made such good friends there and had so much fun. So I would not give that one up. I think that was more of a life experience than a resume experience.
It was also kind of weird because it was almost peak COVID. So I think the whole process was like thrown out of whack. They usually have like way more interns, and I think they have like a place where all their interns live, from what I heard.
Yeah.
So it was like all kind of just very unorganized. The whole recruitment process, and the time we heard from the whole recruitment process was messed up. But moral of the story, if you're a new or prospective college student, some internships can be very rough, but like getting the first one is like the hardest part, and after that I think it just gets easier and easier. And yeah, you haven't done any internships, right?
No, not specific to my.
But you could probably relate to like the culture being like, you get an internship, like co-op.
Because I found myself like very much behind and didn't even have a resume made at one point. Like I was kind of scrambling last minute to put that together, and then realized that I was honestly just like it was just a lot of fluff. I was like, man, I haven't hardly done anything since high school. You
did do like a job with something back home, right?
I did go back home at one point, and it was technically an internship, but it had nothing to do with my major. It was more like, I need money, so I'm gonna work right now. And then I said yes to I got it through a referral or through a person I knew from my community, and it was the first
that's more so related than like working at Starbucks or something, right? Because I was like,
I guess it was like in very much like a
company.
It was a medium-sized business, and it was very much like I guess I worked in like the executive hall or branch or whatever. So it was like a little corporate experience, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was going in like in khaki pants and a button-down shirt and stuff, and I had my own office. So I was sitting in that all day, and definitely taught me that I don't like that at all. Because I honestly I work at a restaurant right now, which both of y'all know that, and I would almost like choose that over an internship, just because even though it's much more stressful in the moment, at least like you're kind of moving around and interacting with people, because your days are just such a drag when you're sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day in an office by yourself. Those were not fun times.
Yeah, I feel like that's how ZF was a lot. You were either sitting around a lot, or you just be walking through because it was a very interesting setup, I'd say, that I'd never seen any office like that, where it's like half an office, or not even half, like maybe a quarter of an office, and then like a huge factory area where you have to like wear like goggles, and like you have to wear these hard steel toe shoes, so that if like one of those like vehicles what are they called? I don't know. forklifts, or
There was
they had a lot of like moving
these
vehicles.
robots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, automated
They
robots
had
too.
the superhero stuff on the side.
Yeah.
They're all named after like Superman, Batman.
That's kind of fun.
It was fun.
But like basically the point of the steel toe shoes is so if you drop a gear on your foot or like something drives over you, you're not gonna like break all your toes, I think. Although you could break your hand or something very easily, but
Yeah, steel fingered gloves.
yeah. But it was a very interesting setup because a majority of the office was like a factory, and then there's like a little office area where you'd go sit down. There's laptops and people and printers and all the basic office stuff. So that was like a very interesting experience of just being on the like absorbing the feel, seeing how it's basically it's a transmission factory. I don't know if I mentioned this before. So they're basically producing transmissions are like 100% gears and like some other things. So they're just basically taking gears and putting them together to make a transmission. So it's an assembly line, and we just like go look at the assembly line and see how we can better the process of making gears and like reduce the error of all these technical things. So basically that was our project as interns, is like observing as much as we could and then trying to like do these projects to figure out how we could implement or like see the amount of error or figure out ways to calculate how much error is occurring because of certain
Parameters.
not parameters, but certain aspects of the assembly line. I don't know. Like, there's like heat treatment, like different parts we were like trying to see how that affected error or whatnot. This is getting really too technical. It's not what I wanted. But yeah, I guess we can move away from this. I wanted to talk about like fraternity life because while I do think fraternity life is awesome, I think there's this mindset at Tech that like, I heard this a lot when I came in, that you have to join a fraternity to have a social life. I was wondering what your opinion is on that, because you're very involved in the fraternity, but you're also in tennis and some other things. So like, what do you think about that mindset?
I think I actually, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I have a very unique perspective on the fraternity stuff, because I really have had, in my college career, 3 distinct parts of it, where at first I was not in a fraternity. I spent my fall semester just hanging out with friends, no fraternity stuff.
Spring
pledge.
Spring pledge.
Pledge in the spring.
Don't do it.
And then I was in the fraternity, but I wasn't very active. And then once senior year, end of junior year, senior year hit, then I started doing a lot more things, became as active as I could. So my freshman year when I wasn't in a fraternity was honestly fantastic. I mean, it was really fun, and I'm not...
That's not what you're supposed to say.
I'm not talking negatively about fraternity.
Yeah.
But it was really, really fun. I enjoyed, not really having anything to do except the things I wanted to do. Like, oh, there's a party at some random place. I'm going to try and go get into that. Oh, like, we didn't have a strict schedule. I was just either playing tennis with the club tennis team, or I was hanging out with my roommates, who would later go on to be in the fraternity with me, at least 2 out of the 3.
Wait, who are your roommates?
It was Sam and Cooper, and then Ashton did not live with us, but he was in our room all the time.
Because you 3 are from Macon, right?
Ashton's not. Sam.
No, I know
Cooper
Ashton. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, Cooper, and I are from Macon.
Right. Ashton's
Cooper,
from Atlanta, right?
Yes, Cooper and Ashton joined the fraternity with me. Sam did not. And then I joined the fraternity, and it was honestly a very strange transition from being like, there's pledge. Well, I mean, if you're not in a fraternity, there's pledgeship, which is essentially the entry into the fraternity where you have to prove yourself to join it. But it's really more just getting to know everybody, making sure that you want to become brothers with all these people. And the transition from that to brother was honestly very difficult on me. It didn't help that we had a very small pledge class, that I then went to live in the GLC, which was, if you go to Georgia Tech, you probably have heard bad things about the GLC. Personally, I liked it, but it was a little out of the way. So I didn't go a whole lot the first fall I was in the fraternity. And then I started to become more active, and then COVID shut down the fraternity, shut down school,
Yeah.
And then when we came back for my junior year, we didn't really go to the fraternity house that much because my roommates and I were being cautious. Didn't want to go get in a room with 80 guys when there's a disease going around. So when that started to end, I decided to become a lot more active, and I'm really glad I did. It's been really fantastic. I think joining the fraternity is probably the best decision I've made at Georgia Tech, and I'm not just saying that as like a rush thing. I mean, if I had not joined the fraternity, I would not have met some of my best friends. I mean, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have met Govin.
That's true.
I wouldn't have gone to South Carolina and hung out with Jack and Larry.
Yeah.
Met Emily and Allison. So many close friends I've met through the fraternity and my pledge class, obviously. So, I mean, as someone who has done the no fraternity, sort of fraternity, actually in the fraternity, I think it's worth it for sure. It's not the be all end all. If you're not in a fraternity, you're fine. You're still gonna have a good time. I had a great time, but it's also a fun thing to do, and I recommend it if you want to.
Yeah, if you have big thing is I think for most people is like the money.
Yes.
It's not cheap. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's not necessary, but I like it a lot.
See, I'm here to play devil's advocate, so I'm just gonna go. Yeah, no, I love that. I love the fraternity life, but I will say that I agree completely that it's not necessary. Like, I thought I had that mindset when I came in, like, oh, I have to be in a fraternity to have a social life, but like this last summer and like even a little bit the semester before, I was just realizing like, oh, like if I was way more active in like clubs and things, it's actually a lot easier to meet people. And some of my closest friends were actually not in the fraternity there. And through the job that I had, which I got through the fraternity, ironically. Because like some of my closest friends are probably watching this, Davidson, like Michelle, Katrina, Donnie. I met them all through the job that I had on campus. And I didn't even realize, like, I was like, oh, these guys are all really cool. And we'd work at the job, we'd like order food in, and it'd be really fun. We'd just like hang out there. So like, yeah, I think the fraternity is great, and I think it's a really good place to network, to meet friends. Yeah, networking is a big thing there, because like it's talking about like what happened with us, but like a lot of the jobs kind of get pulled down through the fraternity. Like a lot of guys work at Delta. Do you know any of the other big ones? I don't remember.
We have a
Delta
good
is a
group
big
of guys.
one.
Delta,
McKinsey, yes, yeah.
I think where else? I don't know if there's any big groups anywhere else right now. I know there's a couple. There's a big group of guys up in Chicago right now. Not all working together, but they're all in the same area.
Yeah.
Helped each other get the job a few times in a couple of situations, but yeah.
Yeah. What I think is what's really cool is you get to know a lot of guys, and then you get really close with them. Oh, personally, that's not been my experience, but that's probably my fault because I don't spend a lot of time there. But like I noticed a lot of other guys, they like spend a lot of time there, and because of that, they get really close. And I was talking to Josh about this actually the other day. It's like that's really cool because then you have like a lot of close friends. But another problem that might come up is that like you might find that all of your friends are in the fraternity, you don't make any friends outside of it, and then you graduate, and then you're like, how do I make friends now? Like I don't know. So that's like one thing that like not most people don't face that, but like I'd say a few people I could see like, oh yeah, he only seems to hang out with like so and so, like that might be a problem. Do you see that at all? You think?
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I mean.
Validate me. Validate my opinions.
I usually, the past few semesters, I've sort of been giving young guys that advice whenever they ask me about it. Like, be active if you're in this fraternity, but don't make it everything. Make it maybe 50% at most. And the other 50%, meet people other ways. Join other clubs. Like, club tennis, for me, was my fraternity sophomore year. Like, honestly, that's probably more of the reason I wasn't around was because when I was captain, I was at practice 3 nights a week. I was at tournament every other weekend. Missed half the football games for it. That's how I made a lot of my friends in that time span, and it's a good thing, honestly. I think it was beneficial for me to make friends in more than one area because you just have a wider network, more social opportunities.
Plus, who do you invite to fraternity events? Like, like other than people you meet. Like, if you're not talking to anyone else, like, how are you gonna, meet people, right? Yeah. So, that's a good point. Yeah, do you have an opinion about this? Like from a non-fraternity aspect, what is your opinion been?
I mean, I always tossed around the idea
Yeah.
of joining one. Ultimately, I guess it did kind of come down to finances.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I wanted to join one freshman and sophomore year, and then I think by the time, like, I guess I'm like the age of a standard fourth year now.
Yeah.
The idea just didn't appeal to me anymore, since at least from the outside looking in, it seemed like most of the parties, most of the events were always. The crowd always seemed to be younger, and so that just didn't, someone becoming a little older, didn't really appeal to me anymore, so I moved on. But I have nothing against the Greek life. Ultimately, pretty much all the parties I've been to were hosted by just different fraternities that I found my way in through friends.
Yeah.
And but I think definitely I like being a part of clubs based off of an interest more so. I would say now, because that's the point of life where I'm at. So like joining dancing clubs, philosophy clubs, photography or gardening, landscaping, etc. All of that, I guess you just form a bond a little bit more quicker, in my opinion, since you're all there meeting based on a common interest.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And you do kind of avoid all those problematic situations fraternities and sororities get into.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That is a very select group.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah, I'd say that's like the great thing about Theta Chi too, is like our fraternity is, I'm not just trying to toot our horn all the time, but our fraternity is more like diverse, and I don't think we have like half the issues that a lot of other fraternities on campus are having.
I do want to make a point though, like regardless of whatever route you take, because this is something that took me a little bit too long to learn, is that in high school, you're kind of like your whole life is structured for you, at least all your classes, and then like extracurriculars, or at least at the very least your friends are right there in front of you every day in the classes that you go to. And especially for me, I just kind of just fell into one extracurricular after another. And then I got to college, and you have to be the one to take initiative. Honestly, I wanted to make like sort of a critique on your point that you made way earlier. Honestly, just wondering like what other colleges are like, because I mean at the end of the day, like they can't be holding your hand through every step. Like you do have to be the one to take the initiative to meet new people.
Sorry, what point are you talking about?
You made a point that like it was difficult, I guess maybe specifically at Tech, that if you didn't live on campus, that you could become disconnected or isolated very quickly. And I'm like, in my mind, I was thinking like, how is it different at other?
I know
campuses?
some colleges, at Tech, it's the first year is the only year that you live in dorms, and then you go move out. A lot of colleges, you stay in dorms for 4 years, and you actually move through. So I feel like that allows for a little bit more sense of like community throughout.
That's what I was wondering.
That's actually a big problem. Like me and Davidson, we're getting into this whole other realm of conversation, but this is good. Me and Davidson actually are having this conversation about like how the sense of community I feel like is very low, and like in this generation, I think, because I'm the kind of person where I get in the elevator with someone, I just like to talk to them. I realized even too that I don't know any of my neighbors in my apartment complex, like on my floor, and I was like, next semester I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go when everyone else is moving in, because I've already moved in. I have plenty of time. I'm just gonna go knock on everyone's door and just say hi and like say like, hey, I'm just living down the hall. My name's Govind. Like, nice to meet you. Like, if you ever need anything, I'm just right down the hall. And just like try to talk to everyone. Mm-hmm. But most people, like whenever I do this to like just ask people how they're doing or whatever, they just find it odd, or that they're too introverted, or I don't know what it is, but it's like I'm attacking them and just getting all defensive. Like, why is this guy talking to me? I get that experience. And not to roast, I don't know if this is like a tech thing or just our generation of how things have changed with like modern technology. Most people are just on their phone whenever they're walking around. I mean, I do it too. I'm not gonna lie. It's like I'm not perfect, but
I feel like it might be.
I think that's a problem with the college culture right now. Is we're getting a little bit detached. That's just my point.
I thought that might. I mean, my thought was that might be more of like.
That's not a tech thing. That's probably.
I was gonna say it's like an Atlanta thing or like an urban thing, because I
think it's just a modern thing.
I come from a rural area. Of course, yes, you can attribute it to modern things, I guess. But I guess because there's the phenomenon like in the more dense of an area you live in, like the more people you come in contact with every day, the more like calloused you are to human interaction. Because I always think, Like, like imagine I'll paint a scenario. Like you're walking down a sidewalk and stuff and there's like nobody else. You can't see anybody else and you just walk past a stranger. And I'm like, if you were on like a deserted island or you just walked through the desert and you hadn't seen anybody for months or like weeks, days, months, etc., like you would be like, oh my God, there's another person. And if that person hadn't seen anybody for a while, like you might be a little nervous at first point, but I bet by the end of the night, like you're gonna be hugging and dancing around the fire and stuff, because like finally another person, I'm not alone. And yet because we see so many people on a daily basis, we just like walk by each other like the other one doesn't exist. I just find that like very funny to me, like how the circumstances can change how you interact with people so drastically.
That's an interesting point you say, because you think it's Atlanta culture, and it just made me think of this, like there's a certain woman that escaped North Korea, right? And she was talking on some podcast about the life there, and obviously she'd been like abused and all sorts of, and obviously they go through famine and all sorts of problems, but they don't have like modern technology at all. And it's almost like people that live in that country are living in like a different century. And so it's just a thing. And she finally escaped like through her sister or whatever, and she went to China and then wherever she went. And for her, it was like so weird just seeing all these modern technologies, like the internet, phones, and everything. I was like, wow, this is like Captain America kind of situation. It's like, holy shit. Like, I mean, that's awful to be in that environment, but maybe there's some parts of it that are better. I don't know, actually. North Korea, I'm never advocating for that. But I think it was interesting to see, like, for someone to come from that kind of environment to here, it's almost like someone from the 1980s or 90s coming to the modern world and seeing, oh, well, this is kind of weird. I mean, there's a lot of good things, but
go along with your point, I do kind of envy people who lived in like post-internet era, because we've never known that, at least from like my earliest.
You mean pre-internet?
Did I say pre?
You said post.
Oh, pre-internet era, because we've never known that since it's been around the whole
I mean,
time.
internet's done a lot of good things. It's
absolutely
saved a lot of people a lot of time.
Totally. But, I like watch these older movies like from the 80s, 70s, 60s, and how they're just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
And I guess they would interact with each other so much more and just like read books and talk and play games. And I feel like that leaves a lot more room for creativity as well, and to have like ideas. And because that we're just like constantly bombarded by all this content, marketing, billboards, etc., that we've lost, like, unless you're like intentional about it, you've lost a lot of like your creative juices, because they're kind of I guess like sucked away by just being constantly spammed by everybody else's ideas, that you kind of lose the ability to have your own. And so I guess the point I'm making is like I envy the quiet that I think might have existed before the internet, just you're in your house or you're doing whatever, and just imagine no phones, no screens, no alerts, nothing. You're just whoever's there in front of you, like that's it. Whatever you talk about in person about like future plans about or what you want to do, that's the only record that you like base your future actions off of.
I mean, I'm sure there are much worse problems that they face that we don't have to deal with, like, especially if we're talking 30, 40 years ago. But I like that point. Like, I mean, without the internet, I can't even upload this video, let's be honest. There is no video. So I'm very thankful for all that the internet has gave us. But that one thing, like, it might be a generalization to say, like, oh, the internet is the source of all our problems with, community.
Actually,
and whatnot,
my business is based off of the internet. So. But I just think, like, I was talking to a friend, like, I just want to do, like, a 6-week hike, maybe on, like, the Appalachian Trail or somewhere else, and just, like...
Oh, I'm sure it'll change your life.
Go off the grid. Like, I'm talking, like, just, like, no showering, no grooming,
no phone,
anything. Just, like, live like a caveman, pretty much. Of course, we'll have, like, our book bags with all our modern supplies and stuff like that. But as much as we can... for a beginner, because
Ghost Survivor,
just like full caveman mode. Just really, I don't know. This sounds hippie, but like get in touch with the earth. Maybe have like some
this is very hippie.
Some spiritual experience stuff. I mean, I just want to get to a point where you can just appreciate the small things. Where like, oh, you see a bird fly by, you're just like, wow.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, or like sunsets and sunrises are crazy beautiful, and it honestly really frustrates me when I'm either like busy or caught up in something that I don't have like an amazing viewpoint to just watch it each day. And that's honestly like when I think about my future house or where I want to live, the one thing that I always have in mind is having like either a balcony or some sort of view where every day, like with my loved ones or friends, could just, I don't know, like sip on some tea or drink and just in complete silence enjoy the sunrise or sunset together. To me, that's just like something I really want in my life.
Interesting.
You know, if you want to hear about that, I talked to you about this, Govind. I have a great guest recommendation for another episode. My roommate Sam, I told you about this.
Yeah.
He started hiking the Appalachian Trail this
Oh,
summer, the day
right,
after he
right.
finished classes,
No way.
and he is about to finish in about a week. And
So how many weeks is that?
it was 100 days, which, if you don't know anything about hiking the Appalachian Trail, and this is something I know a significant bit about because one of my favorite books is A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. Amazing book about his attempt to walk the trail. Very humorous and also very informative. It is fantastic. Highly recommended. I've wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail forever since reading that. But my roommate Sam, he's about to do it. And what I was getting to
We're about to finish it.
about to finish it.
Yeah.
What I was getting to was, for reference, the average person hiking the entire Appalachian Trail, which you're not an average person if you do that. You're unbelievable. It's incredibly difficult. Obviously, I haven't tried it yet, but it's ridiculously hard. It takes 5 months probably on average. Sam's about to do it in 2.5. So
Wow.
Whoa.
By himself or with other people?
I mean, he's met some people on the trail, but by and large, it's been alone. So
How does he do it in like half the time?
He's flying. I would recommend getting him on here because he's not back yet, but I'm extremely excited for him to get back and tell us.
Is he running the whole time? I don't understand.
We're forming a group right here for the future expedition.
Yeah, he's just walking fast. I mean, it's incredible. He's got some great stories to tell if you ever want to talk about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So have you been in communication with him at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've talked every 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he has his phone. I mean, he
got
probably
his
doesn't
phone.
have service, does
Yeah.
he?
He's actually got service on a good amount of the trail. He usually turns
Just
his
holding
phone
his
off
phone up
and
like
then he'll turn his phone on at night and like check it for 5 minutes and see like, if anything urgent or like maybe he'll call my roommates and me and we'll talk for half an hour or so and put it away. I mean, there's halfway houses and hostels every week
Right,
or so,
right.
so he can charge his phone once a week or so.
Once a week, so.
Yeah.
Because I feel like my phone, even if I don't use it, it'll just die within a couple of
Yeah.
days. I don't know, maybe that's just because the battery's just ruined, or I don't know, but like,
I
does it
Well, I think
last
it's
the
'cause
whole
it's
week?
the
You
internet
know?
connection. Like it needs power to
Yeah.
stay connected to the internet.
And-
Or maybe he just powers it off.
He does power it off. And
That would probably
he's probably
help.
got like a portable battery or something.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
why. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
so how do you know? Like, how do you have supplies for all those days?
He can talk about this much more in depth than I can because he's the one actually doing it. But from what I've read in A Walk in the Woods, read it.
I'm putting
Fantastic.
that on my list now.
Amazing. I can talk about it for hours. How good it is. But from what that book and what Sam have told me is that essentially every week or so the trail gets cut by like a road, like a highway or something. And what hikers will do a lot of the time is they'll either walk down the road or, depending on how long it is, they'll hitchhike into like a nearest little town and they'll go grocery shopping, pick up the food for the next week, maybe stay in a Motel 6 or something for the night, shower off, hit the trail again for another week or so. So they basically pack food for about a week to 2 weeks at a time, and then they restock next time they hit the highway.
Wow.
I want to do this.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I want to do it too, but he's amazing. He's a trooper.
Yeah. So yeah, just getting back to like college.
Sorry.
Because that is what we were trying to keep this around. But that's an interesting point because my one of my former roommates or subleasers, kind of for the summer, he was very involved in Orgit, and they do like a lot of different programs. Like for the freshmen, they do like this separate program before you come in, where they go to like, I think Montana's one of them, Alaska's one of them. They do like different trails, and you go and you just with random people, and you get to meet a bunch of these random tech students. And so it seems like a lot of fun. I wanted to do it. I think it was just really expensive, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna meet. Also, I did summer freshman, so I wasn't even available. Or I was doing the summer freshman program, so I wasn't even available to do it. But yeah, Orgit's a really cool program that I always wanted to do but never have. But now I just go on hikes with my friends usually whenever I can, trying out new trails. Part of the whole chasing discomfort thing, trying new things.
I
Which
went
is
to a trail that you talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
this week. Have you ever heard of Sweetwater Creek State Park?
I kind of Sweetwater Brew.
Not quite the same.
Sounds just as fun.
But that was a trail you plan on going.
Yeah, we're
this
going on
weekend.
Sunday. Yeah.
And it would recommend. It's kind of like directly west, like a straight line west of Midtown, and it's like a 20 to 40 minute drive, depending on how much traffic there is. So just throw that out there for you or anybody listening who's in the Midtown area to go experience.
Cool.
There's a nice bridge. If you follow me on Instagram, you would see that I posted about the bridge.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool picture moment.
Spoilers, bro. I want to go see it.
I mean, you tag them commented on the post.
I know.
Well, I didn't
That's
see
not
it
what-
yet. I'm excited.
There we go.
But yeah, so that's a good point of advice. Like if you're in college, you're definitely, especially if you're going out of state or something, or even if you're in your own city, there's so much to do around. Well, if you're in a town or a city like Atlanta, there's a lot to do around Atlanta. But there's also like trails and stuff. You just got to find whatever you're interested in.
Yeah, if you're coming to tech, one thing that I finally adopted and has like very much increased my quality of life is just at the very least make sure you're doing one new thing a week.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like mark it on your calendar or plan it out ahead. Just one new restaurant, one new hiking spot, one new, I don't know, theater, movie.
Just like
stand-up
walking
comedy.
around
Yeah.
too. Know your territory.
A new place. Yeah, it took me forever to finally come up with the idea. Maybe you should explore campus.
Yeah.
That
You
sort
know,
of thing.
you know what's an interesting thought that I had is like I watch all these like TV shows, this anime that I'm watching right now, One Piece, and like the characters when they're kids, right? All the kids really do is just like walk around the village or the area, the territory, whatever, and just explore every part of it because that's all kids have to do. But that's also like the most fun part, and I think that's something we should all embrace in college is like knowing your city, your town, your college town, whatever, because like that's how you get the most out of the college experience is by knowing the area, experiencing all those different things, the different college cultures and whatnot. Some are better than the others, I think, but especially in Atlanta, like the number of people I meet that haven't like been to certain areas like Piedmont Park or like gone to Centennial area or
Pond City Market.
Pond City Market, yeah.
Those
Even
big ones.
Atlantic Square area.
Atlantic
yeah.
Station, yeah.
Or say Atlantic
I haven't
Station,
been
sorry.
to Edgewood. That's like an entire
Edgewood,
area I didn't
yeah.
even know about. till
All
you
the
talked
bar
about it.
scene,
Beltline.
that's yeah, the bar scene is something you
Beltline,
learn as you
Yeah, Beltline's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
Beltline,
amazing.
yeah, and all the trails. There's so many trails too. I
Really?
think they're like we went to Westview Park that just opened up where they shot like the Stranger Things like first season area. You can't really, the quarry. I don't know if you remember that. Do you watch
Yeah,
Stranger
yeah,
Things? Yeah, the quarry area because they shoot a lot of things in Atlanta
Everything.
now. Yeah,
Atlanta,
like a lot of
Bacon,
Marvel
like, all-
movies. Yeah,
Bacon's huge for film too. Like all of this, like not North Georgia, but not really Central. Like North Central Georgia is like literally the new Hollywood in the U.S. right now. If you did not know, it's crazy,
yeah.
crazy.
So go to Georgia Tech. Don't go to UG.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, one fun thing you can do in Opportunity Atlanta is be an extra on movies.
Oh,
I
yeah.
submitted like an
Have you heard
application
anything
for
from
that.
them?
I did too. For what movie?
For like Cast, is that the organization you did?
I don't remember what it was because I actually.
Dude, this is on my bucket list. I need to do
Well,
this.
I got an ad on Instagram for being an extra in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
this. No
and
way.
I signed up for it and got on like a Zoom call with this agent guy,
Yeah.
and it was real. It was not a scam as far as I could tell. If it was a scam, it was a good one because it was legit.
They asked
And-
for your credit card information.
No, they were like, basically, if you want to be an extra in things, you have to like sign on with the agency that gets you the jobs. So like,
Oh,
pay them like $50, and now you're a part of it. And I was like, I don't want to pay $50. You know, like.
you don't get paid
Don't
anything for in return, though,
You-
right?
I mean, if you're in a movie, they're gonna pay you something.
Oh.
But it's just like I feel like I'm gonna pay this $50, and then like my schedule's never gonna work out because I'm unlucky or like I don't know. Not gonna.
It depends how much that $50 is worth to
Yeah.
you. Which, yeah,
I think it was.
it's definitely something I
more
might do
than
down the
$50,
line.
But
Oh, really?
I think it was.
Oh,
This was a couple months ago, but
interesting. Did you have to pay anything when you signed
No,
up?
I just submitted an application.
Oh.
Because they asked for like all your body measurements
Yeah.
and all the things that you're willing to do and all the skills you're familiar with.
Sounds kind of sketch. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big organization. It's
Yeah.
called CAST. I think it's spelled KAAST. In case you're interested. I actually just got an email about it today, which is why I remembered it, because they were like, "Oh, we have like a few opportunities in Atlanta." It was from some show on ABC, but I guess it's kind of fallen to a lower place on my list of priorities. So I haven't thought about it in a while, but still definitely something I want to try.
Dude, that might
'Cause
sound
that's just like, again, just like trying new experiences.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's
literally, you can do almost anything. I mean, I would say almost anything that's available in a city is available in Atlanta. Do I want to
Yes.
say that?
Yeah,
Do you agree with that?
absolutely.
Yeah, Atlanta is like, it's growing, absolutely. And there's a lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, I love Atlanta, for the record.
Yeah, one thing I did want to talk to you about, Mark, is because you're pretty. I don't know if we talked about this on the camera yet, but I know we talked a lot about tennis. I want to talk to you about like what you're involved with tennis and how your experience has
Hey,
been
there was
with
a
that.
tennis tournament here recently. Did you go to that?
Yeah,
by
I
any
did go to
chance?
that.
No
Yes.
way.
It was very fun. It was kind of a shame for all of you tennis followers. You probably saw this, that this was definitely the biggest the Atlanta Open's ever been. It used to be the BB&T Open, and then they've since changed the name to just the Atlanta Open, and they've moved it to Atlantic Station, which is, I guess you were seeing the crowds from.
Yeah, I was
when
getting a lot
working over
of
there.
people
Yeah.
at the restaurant I work at.
Fit for business.
It started out as a decently smaller tournament that the biggest names were like the best Americans. Like, it was actually the first tennis tournament I ever went to when I was probably 11 or 12, and I saw Marty Fish and John Isner play each other in the finals. And John Isner is still a big name right now because he's one of the top Americans, best serve pretty much in history. I will die on that hill. I mean, really, not many people are going to argue with me on that. If you watch tennis, it's ridiculous. Also, he would be
No, I
which
disagree.
is kind of unfortunate.
I don't watch any tennis, but I disagree.
His incredible serve, and he was playing Marty Fish, who, this is a name you might not know depending on how old you are, but he was the best American in the world at the time. He was fantastic, and he actually retired because he had a heart problem. He didn't.
Oh
really-
man, that's tough.
But he was great. I know this is complete, whatever.
Tangent central.
Yes, yes, but this was the biggest year the tournament's ever had. They had Andy Murray was playing, Nishikori was playing, Kyrgios was playing, and this was 3 weeks after Wimbledon, where he was in the finals of Wimbledon. Who else? Isner was there again. Isner's always there. A guy named Riley.
I don't know any of these people.
Yes,
You
cool.
know Andy Murray?
I don't know any. I know like 3 tennis players.
Andy Murray is one of the greatest tennis players in history, and I will fight for that. That is something people will disagree with me on, and I will debate it. Because I love Andy Murray.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all of them withdrew,
Mm.
except for Isner. There were a couple other guys like Brandon Nakashima and Francis Tiafoe, who are also American guys. They were still in, but the majority of the big name foreign players pulled out, and it was a real bummer because I was literally going to watch Andy Murray.
Damn.
And then he didn't play.
Mm.
Still pretty cool though. It's a great event in Atlanta.
But yeah, I was asking about
my tennis. So what I've been involved in with tennis. So I started playing when I was probably like 5 or 6. I was in kindergarten, so I was probably 6. I started taking group lessons with some little friends in kindergarten, and then I guess the coach saw a spark in me or something, and he was like, "Oh, you need to start doing individual stuff." And I was like, "Okay." So I started taking individual lessons, and then he was like, "You need to play tournaments and stuff." And I was like, "Okay." So I started taking it pretty seriously about the age of 10. Played all through high school. Had a really fun high school career. Should I just be hyping myself up? Like,
Yeah,
what
go
Yeah.
for it.
I mean, what do you want to know? You want the accolades?
I don't know.
You want
I was
Yeah.
more specifically talking about your experience in college, but
Okay.
I mean you're building up to it,
Build up
so
to it.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not that I did not play college tennis, for the record. I was Middle Georgia Tennis Player of the Year. That was pretty fun.
Congratulations.
When I was a junior, thanks. But in college, so I came in. I didn't really like tennis very much by the end of high school, just because it was so much work.
Yeah.
Like,
You're burning out a little bit.
I was so burned out. But then after I graduated high school, and I just went out there to like just hit some whatever, not to compete anymore. I was like, oh wait, like this is kind of fun now because it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I initially did not plan on doing club tennis at all. But so I get to Tech, and I've been playing a little bit over the summer, and I met some guys who were going to try out, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a shot. Because I'd also seen a guy at the org fair who I had played in high school, and he was on the team, and I was like, that guy's pretty good. So like, this is probably a legit organization. So I went to tryouts, and I was like, holy cow, these guys are really good. Like, I don't know if I want to make this team.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I did. it was tough. I mean, there were some real good guys that did not make the team, and that's not me like hyping myself up. I'm just saying it is competitive.
Oh yeah, my former roommate, he tried out like 3-4 times, didn't make it.
Yeah, it is tough. And you know, that's kind of just how it is. It's one of those clubs that you can't take as many people as you want because we only have 4 courts to hit on, and you know we already have 50 people. That's more than 10
That's
people
all right. Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, tennis does not work if you have 10 people on a court. So it's very, very tough to get in the organization. And I honestly was not incredibly active my freshman year. I was probably 50% active the first semester. In the second semester, I barely played at all because I was in the whole fraternity mindset. But at the end of freshman year, some older people convinced me to run for captain, to lead the competitive side of it, run practices, be in charge of tournaments, create teams, run tryouts. They thought I'd be good at it, and I was like, all right, I guess. And so I won, which was surprising. But it went very well. I had a lot of fun, and we did make it to nationals that year. It was super hype. I won't go into the whole story.
Wait, Sagar on the team too?
Yes, Sagar. Shiv's on the team as well.
Is he really?
Yeah, Shiv was actually one of the guys that.
I feel like he plays every sport, Shiv.
Yeah, Shiv's really good.
I know he played soccer into that.
He's one of the guys that convinced me to try out sort of just because he was going.
Oh, you knew him back then?
Yeah, I knew Shiv like the first week of school.
Are you the one that got him to rush?
No, I had no idea he was rushing. I hadn't seen him in like a year. But Shiv's super cool.
Funny guy.
Shiv, if you're watching this.
Funny dude.
Shiv's cool.
I don't know. I don't think he'd watch this.
I'm gonna text him. I'll send him.
Yeah.
But so I've been president for the past 2 years. I'm not anymore. I'm retired. I'm still going to be in the club, but I'm retired from being in charge. Being president for 2 years is a lot. I really, for the sake of my own mental health, I probably shouldn't have done it 2 years in a row, but I just felt very indebted to the club. Just done so much to me, met so many friends, met my girlfriend, Annabelle. And so I did it 2 years in a row. Definitely the second year, I don't think I was on my A game in terms of running things, which I will readily admit I would have liked to have done a better job, but burnout is real. And
it's something I did want to talk about on the podcast,
Yeah.
especially with a school like Tech. It's so easy, I think, to get burnt out.
Dude, I could talk about burnout all day.
Yeah. When was that, like, you felt probably the most burnt out, or like it just got too much?
Probably about 2 months into my second year as president. It got...
So was that your third year?
It was my senior year of college.
Oh, okay.
Last
year.
Last fall.
Last fall.
It just got so tough, and if you're a club tennis person watching this, you know what I'm talking about. I honestly, this is probably going to be the most candidly I've talked about it. I won't say exactly what was going on, but it was really, really hard because there was just a situation, everyone was disagreeing about stuff, and it was the first time I'd been leading something and I didn't know what to do. And it was like, no matter
something
what
probably
I
every
do,
leader goes through
yeah,
that.
it was like no matter what I do, someone is going to be very pissed at me. And it was not fun, and honestly, if I could go back in time, I would have done things a lot differently.
Oh.
Like, I'm not happy with how I handled it, but I honestly learned a lot from it.
Well, if I can make you feel better about
Yeah.
one thing, it's that I've heard that good leaders, they don't always make the right decision. They know how to make decisions fast. So, like, a good leader would not, like, waste a lot of time trying to make the right decision, like, too much time, honestly. He'd rather make decisions fast and be able to think on like, the tip of his toes, kind of, and make decisions fast and occasionally be wrong, you know? So, like, I'm sure that was probably one of those situations, I think. And also, I think every person that tries to be a leader has to go through that, you know? It's kind of like the trials and tribulations of every leader. So, I mean, I think it was good, you know, probably a good experience for you too, at least, you know. Everyone hits a cap, I think, at Tech too. If you come in here, you want to do everything, and you realize you don't have time for everything, and mentally it's so hard to stay up with it. I don't think I've ever pushed myself that much, because I've always been like, little by little adds things to my schedule, but I've never like hit the max on it. I think probably like the first year with pledship, that was probably the most because like pledship was a lot.
Yeah.
But after that, it's been like, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit, see how this like new job affects my schedule and stuff. So like I've been very careful about it. So me personally, I haven't gone through too much. But have you experienced any like sort of burnout? You think? Obviously, I mean related to school, but not like health issues.
I think because of the health problems I have, I've just been burned out for like years now.
Yeah.
But besides that, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think was like, if you care to share, like the best lesson that you could pick out of that really difficult experience you had?
Ooh, that is a great question. Because I honestly I was thinking about this earlier today. Like, it's something I think about a lot, and honestly, like, I've never really talked about this before. Like, it kind of haunts me. Like, that was definitely the toughest thing I've been through in college. That one situation. The main takeaway from it, that is a great question, because honestly, I don't really know. I definitely learned the hard way that if you are a leader, obviously good leaders take input from people, but sometimes you have to put your foot down and follow your gut. And unfortunately, that's not what I did.
Damn.
But I think if I had, it would have turned out a lot better. So that's the advice I have for anyone listening.
Well, at least you learned something from that.
I did learn from it, and it did help me down the line. I think there were some decisions where I was like, all right, no, like, stop. We are doing this my way. Sorry. Like, sometimes you have to. And like, is that a dictator? Maybe.
Yeah.
But
that's why you're the leader,
exactly.
the president at the end.
I mean, obviously everyone trusted you enough to put you in that position. So.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the main thing I took away from it. Is sometimes you got to follow your gut.
You can't always be the likable guy too.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the times when you're in a situation like that, the people mad at you are mad, like, they're having emotional reactions. You have to follow like the logical side of yourself. Like, what is the correct decision? Not what will make me happy, what will make these people happy. What is correct? And that is, I got too involved in if I do this, everyone's going to be mad. When I should have done what I knew was like, this is the logical, correct answer. And that's what I would do if I could go back in time.
That seems like it's a concept out of The Way of the Superior Man. It's like, when you receive a lot of like emotional input, is like trying to act logically rather than emotionally, which is, I think, a struggle that a lot of people face. Is like, when people throw emotion at you, that charges you up innately, and then you want to act emotionally. Especially family. I've noticed that family, I have to be even more patient, because I'm horrible at this, but you have to be very careful, especially as a leader though too. I'm sure you get a lot of emotion your way, and you have to be okay with being hated at times, and people disagreeing with you.
I got one thing.
But the reason that they put you in that position is because they believe in you. So you ultimately have to realize that, like, it's, you're probably doing good, and they believe in you. So, believe in yourself. Yeah.
I love
that. Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask, so I bet, would you say it's true too that you are a lot more understanding of people who are in charge of you or in leadership above you when they are struggling to make decisions? That's one thing I would always try to get my friends to understand in high school, because I had several leadership positions, and they were always like so heavily critiquing like the leadership at our school or in our church or of any club, and I'm like, all right, but these people had never been in a leadership position themselves, and I'm like, why don't you look at it from their point of view? Like, they're trying to obviously please everybody. That's a very difficult task that you can't always do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that 100%. I mean, even like issues in the fraternity before, I've been talking to people, and it's like, all right, we need to give these guys some slack a little bit. Like, let's say everyone's mad at whoever the person in charge of this is, like, let's try and look at it from his perspective. Walk a mile in his shoes. I like to give that advice, because it's tough being in charge of stuff. And if you've never been like a president of something before, it's one of the hardest things in the world. Even when it's the president of a club about playing tennis, like, it's tougher than it sounds. And especially, it honestly is something that helped me a lot. One thing I also did while I was president of club tennis, so one of the jobs of the president is to be a liaison between the team and the campus recreation center that's in charge of all of the competitive sports And so I was on a separate council called the Sports Club Executive Council that was made up of 6 sports club presidents. I was the only person who was on that for 2 years. And
All right.
that was,
All right,
well,
Mark.
well,
Some clout here.
I'm not
Give
trying
your
to
clout.
hype myself
Keep
up.
going.
I'm just saying I had a lot of experience there meeting with other club presidents, and like I'll be honest, we didn't do a whole lot the first year, but the second year we did kind of a lot of stuff, and we met a good amount, and it was fun. I really enjoyed hanging out with the other presidents. One of them was someone I already knew, a good friend, and the other people I'd never met before. But just talking to these other club presidents, it was great because I kind of realized, holy cow, like all of us go through this nonsense sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember being at Sports Club Exec and like, how's your club going? And I was like, well, we got this issue going on, that's gave me some trouble. And I kind of got, presidents of other clubs at the meeting were like, who are theoretically some of the more proactive club presidents because they're on this council. Like they are willing to go the extra mile for their club. They're very proactive.
Oh, so there are club presidents in sports that aren't in that executive thing called?
Yes, so there are about 30 sports clubs at Georgia Tech. Oh, more than that, honestly. Let's say there's 40, and there are 6 people on the sports club executive council. So it's like me. It would have been. I only
What are the sports?
All of them?
No, like what are on the executive?
Let's see. With
tennis.
Me, I don't remember who my first. Like
Yeah,
I
I
just
don't know.
in general, I worked with roller derby, swim,
Interesting.
women's basketball, men's and women's lacrosse, baseball. Sort of worked with Kerbani, but
They're in
I
there.
hope he's not watching. He stopped coming. He stopped showing up.
I'm not surprised.
Who else? Oh, sailing.
yeah.
Sound net, which is spike ball.
Interesting.
And
I love spike ball.
there was one other person. Maybe rowing? I think that was everybody.
Rowing's a big one, yeah.
I think that was everybody. If I'm forgetting someone and you're watching this, I'm so sorry. It was.
Or
a
probably
long 2
not,
years.
but you're giving my podcast too much credit.
Hey, this is a great podcast.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But
Sorry, I totally interrupted your
Yeah.
conversation with the executive.
Yeah, no worries. I was just saying that these theoretically were me and these 5 other presidents hypothetically were the 6 most proactive presidents. Let's just say that because we're on this council, we chose to be on this council, and they all had the same issues that I did. And I was like, maybe I'm not really doing something wrong. Maybe this is just a tough spot that people get in sometimes, and it made me feel a lot better, honestly.
Did you get a lot of like good input from them? Like, oh, like I face the same thing as you too, and it's better to be like this than that. No,
Not
it's more just like
really.
an
It was more
empathetic
just
ear.
understanding.
Yeah.
And that felt really good because I had been walking around feeling pretty low for about 2 weeks. Of, I am a terrible club president. I am.
Yeah,
Like,
I
this is
understand.
all my fault. If I was just better, if I just cowboyed up and did something, then it would all go away. But I'm not doing it because I'm a coward. But then I heard from these other people, and I was like, this is a hard thing to do.
Because you take a lot of burden on your shoulders, so it's like, well, first of all, you've put a lot of pressure on your back, so like, not everyone can even do that. Which raises another question that I had before: is like, can everyone really be a leader, or just some people meant to be leaders and others are just meant better yet suited as followers, or because obviously there's like different kinds of leaders. I know there's like leadership in business. In the business world, there's like these like leadership quizzes you can take to find out what kind of leader are you. So I guess some people would say, oh, everyone can be a leader. There's just different kinds of leaders. But me personally, I've seen like, I definitely don't feel like a leader. Like I have to push myself out of my comfort zone to like try and lead people. But I don't know if that's necessarily wrong. Like maybe everyone should push themselves. It's just like a huge dilemma I'm having inside my head. Like, I mean, some people might be more suited for it. This is my answer to my own question, by the way. Some people might be more suited for it, but I think everyone, I guess, should try to be a leader. Especially if you're trying to be successful in any realm of human endeavor.
I mean, I've actually been to like a few leadership conferences back in the day.
Yeah.
It's called Student Leadership University. And of course there they would tell you that everybody has leadership potential and everybody can be a leader, and totally can get behind that. We want to be empowering people. You don't until you're a follower. You're never going to amount to anything.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The way they explained it, they did this like personality test for every single person who went to this conference, and this is just the way they explained it. That some people will find themselves quicker than others. And like, I'll give you an example. Like, my personality type is the personality type that finds themselves the quickest, but they're also the ones who are the most quick to get themselves in trouble and, you know, face discipline in a corporate world or leadership world, and to ultimately maybe fall from grace, sort of thing. And there's a whole spectrum in terms of the personalities of how this person acts in a leadership position and how quickly they get there. And so I'm on one side of the spectrum. On the other side, there's a personality type that you don't see those type of people find themselves in leadership positions very often, and they take them a long time to get there. But by far, once those people do get there, they stay there the longest and usually do the best out of anyone.
And I definitely think college can help you figure out what kind of person you are, what kind of leader you could be.
And I actually have a personal story. And you talk about this too, how it was just some friends that convinced you to try.
This is a college story?
This is a college story.
Good.
My mom actually...
you interrupted me. You gotta
it's a good college story about leadership, okay? So my mom, shout out to my mom, she went to Georgia Tech back in the 90s and was a part of the Alpha Gam sorority.
Oh, wow.
I was sweethearted that sorority.
Wow.
Big sweetheart.
Basically your mom's sister.
Your mom's
I'm
sister.
on the composite. It's kind of a big deal. Rush Alpha Gam.
Yeah, and she, I guess, had hardly done any leadership things ever in her life. And it was ultimately her friends who just convinced her to run for president. And she will tell you the story that she ran against a much more popular girl and did not think she was going to win. And then she ended up winning. And here's my mom, president of sorority. I think it was her like junior or senior year. And that was an amazing experience for her. And she like learned and grew a lot because, like I said, that was her. I think she might be someone who was a little slower to get there, but once she did a great job. It's cool to see her. It's like, I've been to Alpha Gam like a few times to go like see her face up on the wall and stuff as president.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Because they have like the same kind of situation with like fraternities, right? They have all the old composites all over the house. Yeah, I've been in their house. I don't know what I'm asking. Anyway, yeah. So just getting back to college, I thought did you talk about the club you were, because you had the position in?
Oh yeah, I was finance officer in the club Great Conversations. That was the philosophy/psychology club, and that's why going back to the point I made at the very beginning. An aspect that I love so much, an aspect I do like about colleges is all the opportunities for people to like get out of their shell and branch out a little bit, especially if you're in a very niche club or organization. Suddenly you're surrounded by people who have the very like similar interests, and you could say quote unquote like certain personality types, and so you're amongst people where you can feel comfortable much more quickly, and then, you know, take a chance at putting yourself out there and, you know, realize a few things about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a good final message. You know, we talked about joining college and trying to meet new people, but also in leadership, it's important to realize in both leadership and meeting people in general, and just general college struggles, that you're not alone in facing these the struggles of each of those separate things. And like you said, like when you joined the executive, whatever it's called, sports club executives, you realize that other people are facing your issues, and even though they might not be able to solve them, you have an empathetic ear that can listen. Same thing with like meeting people. Like I met you and you were talking about physics, and I was like, oh, I'm struggling with physics too. Like it's good to know, because just that like small thing I think helps us. And you never want to have that mindset of like, oh, I don't have time for this, or oh, it's too hard, or imposter syndrome of like, oh, I can't do this because, you know, I'm just not going to be successful with it, but someone else could do it. So I encourage you to try everything you can possibly in college, especially if you're set on going to college, which I think most people should. I'm very pro college here. I guess we could answer that. We never actually did answer that. Like, is college still worth it? For me, it is, but I would say that you have to be involved if you want to get the most out of it. That's my message. And yeah, so hopefully you guys are still with us. If you enjoyed the content, please drop a like, leave a comment, maybe consider subscribing. We have podcasts almost weekly, bi-weekly, and new videos usually out every week. So yeah, more to come. See you guys soon. Take care.